To call the city council meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Alderman Woods.
Here.
Alderman Catalano.
Here.
Alderman Jacob.
Here.
Alderman Messina.
Yes.
Alderman Sorrentino.
Here.
Alderman Sismarski.
Here.
Alderman Ames.
Here.
Alderman Currielli.
Here.
Oh, and Mayor Police, I'm sorry.
I'm here. Quorum is present. Please stand, join the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to make, I need a motion to approve the June 3rd, 2021 regular city council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Okay, do any citizens wish to be heard on matters not listed on the agenda? Okay, I do have a couple written communiques this evening. Dear Mayor Police, my company would like to acquire the Shell gas station located at 110 East Irving Park Road, Wooddale. We are currently in negotiations with the landlord and lessee of the property. All signs point to a smooth transaction, as we are all in agreement on the terms and conditions of the sale. However, my partners and I would like to secure a liquor license or an approval of a liquor license before we close on this transaction. Because the addition of liquor sales is very important to the growth of our new venture, I would like to respectfully request that the city council add this to their agenda so we can move forward with this transaction. Unless there's real opposition, we'll put it on the next committee meeting. And it won't be next week because I believe we're off, correct? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, from Philip Munton. Thank you guys for so much for putting my Army picture on a banner and hanging it by the street. My wife and I posted a pic on Facebook and we got dozens of comments and likes. Lots of people said more towns should do that. So maybe you're starting a new trend. My sister also shared the post on her page, and she had a bunch of responses. Anyhow, thanks again, Philip Munton. Let me give you the other letter. Sorry. Also, to the entire city council, I'm taking it upon myself to send this letter commending you and your entire staff for your recognition of the veterans of our community. The flag with the veterans' pictures, name, and branch of service has brought such joy and pride to all of us here in our community. I have heard so many people that driving down Irving Park and seeing all the flags on Memorial Day with the faces of our community veterans looking at us as we drive through brought chills of love and gratitude to all the vets, families, and friends. I personally would like to commend Mr. Poplawskis. He was the first person I spoke to regarding the form that needed to be filled out by my husband for the commemoration flag. He was so polite and patient with all my questions. Again, please express our gratitude and appreciation to everyone involved with the project. It is one of the many reasons that we are proud to be a resident of this wonderful community of Wooddale. With sincere gratitude and love, Mrs. Sandra Sobieski. And anybody listening, I know Mr. Poplawskis already has a list started for next year. Okay. Next, mayor's report. Just going to take a brief moment of silence for passing of Rick Corneal. He was the former city manager back in the 90s. He was also the city administrator of a few other towns, but Mr. Corneal was here many years ago, so we just want to have a moment of silence. Okay. And our support goes out to his family. Next, Mr. Murmas, City Manager report.
Well, it's very exciting to be sitting back up here today after the council chambers has got back to a more of a normal look. In honor of that, I have 6 items this evening. Item number 1, the city would like to thank all those families who came out for Bike with a Cop earlier this week. And I'd like to also remind everyone that American English is the next Sounds of Summer concert coming to Wooddale this Friday, which is tomorrow, June 18th at 7 p.m. Item number 2, the city's contractor, Clark Environmental, performed a citywide mosquito abatement application earlier this week. That was the first of the season, but there will obviously be additional ones. Item 3, the city of Wooddale just started our annual roadway resurfacing program, consisting of resurfacing, spot curb replacement, and spot sidewalk replacement throughout the city. If you're interested more in how that program works, go to the city website, Neighborhood Improvement Program. Number 4, a reminder that the 2021-2022 vehicle stickers are available at City Hall and must be displayed by June 30th. Item number 5, the city has changed how you can pay your utility bill. So if you are paying a certain way now, you may not be able to do that. Please go to Bill Payment Options page under the Residents tab on the city website, or you can go ahead and call City Hall and we'll walk you through the process. And then my last item was a lingering report on the success of the Wooddale Dollars program that I had promised. To date, we collected over $65,000 in Wooddale dollars that residents used for their utility bills, and we collected $48,000, or we distributed $48,000 to restaurants, helping them during COVID. So all around, excellent program for Wooddale residents and businesses during COVID. So great success. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, consent agenda. If no objections, I'll entertain a motion for 2 items.
Make that motion.
Second.
And there was no objections, correct? Okay. Then roll call, please. Yes.
Alderman Catalano,
Yes.
Alderman Jacob,
Yes.
Alderman Messina,
Yes.
Alderman Sorrentino,
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski,
Yes.
Alderman Ames,
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
And that passes. Next, we need a motion to approve the 2 items on the agenda. Item number 1, a resolution approving an agreement between the City of Wooddale and Tregy Construction, Inc. for the fiscal year 2022 sidewalk and RTA stamped concrete replacement program in an amount not to exceed $85,305. Item number 2, a resolution approving an agreement between the City of Wooddale and Performance Pipelining, Inc. for the fiscal year 2022 sewer rehabilitation in an amount not to exceed $599,058.50. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Alderman Woods,
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob,
Yes.
Alderman Messina,
Yes.
Alderman Sorrentino,
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski,
Yes.
Alderman Ames,
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Okay, and that passes. Okay. All right, next committee chairman reports. Planning and Zoning and Building, Alderman Woods.
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 reports. One, an ordinance of the City of Wooddale, DuPage County, Illinois, authorizing the acquisition through condemnation of parcel commonly known as 310 East Irving Park Road. That is my motion.
Second.
Okay, we have motion, second. Mr. Bond?
Yeah, just if you all recall, we've got 2 new aldermen. This matter, the council already authorized the acquisition by condemnation. The courts have not been moving with jury trials other than criminal matters. So it looks like they're moving back open for that. In the interim, we thought we might be able to bridge the gap and reach by way of settlement with the attorneys for the property. It appeared as though that was going to be the case, and at the end of the day, it turned out not to be the case. This was done on November 5th, 2021. I just don't want, or 2020, I just don't want there to be a delay where, you know, the court would look at it and say, well, do you still need it? You needed it back in November, you still need it come June, so that's the only reason, just to give an update, so the condemnation complaint will be filed then immediately.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Alderman Woods,
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
Alderman Jacob,
Yes.
Alderman Messina,
No, oh, excuse me, yes.
Alderman Sorrentino,
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski,
Yes.
Alderman Ames,
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
And that passes.
Next, an ordinance granting a variance to allow construction of a 6-foot fence within the required front setback line on property located at 394 Preserve Lane. That is my motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Questions? Alderman Jacob?
Yes, I just would like to make a brief comment on this, and it'll be pretty brief here. We put a packet on the dais for everyone to consider on the Ethan Woods fence variance. To be clear, the resident has the right and fully intends to put up a fence on the lot. That fence style has no bearing on the applicant, as there is a preserve behind their home and no indication it is part of their home, which is on Deer Path. The resident paid money to get a variance to put up a fence which would appease the neighbors next to his empty lot. He could have easily saved $500 time aggravation by just putting up the fence that the city code already allows. Additionally, the picture in the packet we left for each of you clearly shows what the fence will look like if he builds it to current code. The reason we are supporting this variance is to ensure the best-looking fence scenario possible for those residents and future residents within that development. Allowing it to be put up with our current code can be a detriment to any future lot sales. Take any debate out as to whether this fence will help or not with flooding off the table. The applicant legally has the right and fully intends to put up a fence. Let me make this clear. The applicant is allowed by our city code to put up a 4-foot fence up to 2 feet off the street curb. That is why the variance process is critical. It is important to have a standard, and this variance has met all the criteria for our approval and was passed by everyone except for one on CDC. This vote is a matter of dictating that style and look of the fence the applicant will put up. This applicant has generously offered to upgrade the material at his cost in order to provide the most aesthetically pleasing look for those in that development. Yes, we want consistency, I totally agree. However, if it is the intent of our council to keep variances consistent, once it passes or fails, it should become a city code. Why take residents' money by going through the variance process if we are not going to consider scenarios that fall slightly outside, which is oftentimes 90-plus-year-old codes written way before us? Let me make this clear. The applicant is allowed by our code to put up a 4-foot fence up to 2 foot from the street. Your vote tonight will dictate what those residents within this development will need to look at each and every day going forward. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And when you say "we," you're speaking for yourself, I take it, not for the rest of the council, correct?
Correct.
Okay, because just people are watching. You're saying "we," "I." So just clarification, and basically, Alderman Woods, go ahead.
Thank you. Just to touch on a few things for clarity, the alderman just made the statement that the fence would be 2 feet off the street. Mr. Cage,
6 inches off, behind the sidewalk.
would it be
Mr.
2
Cage.
feet off the street
Not-
or 2 feet off the sidewalk?
No, it's 6 inches off the sidewalk. So wherever the sidewalk line ends, I believe. Go ahead, Mr. Cage.
Yes, to answer the question, every street, well, I shouldn't say every street, most streets and right-of-ways are different, so typically we measure from the property line, which is usually just inside the sidewalk, and what we do is we recommend people go 6 inches just to be safe. So 6 inches on the private property side of the sidewalk is typically the location.
All right, so just for clarity. it's
Go ahead,
6
follow up.
6 inches inside the property line, not 2 feet from the street.
How many
Uh,
feet does it do?
Second sense, another question. So this is talking about developing the lot or not developing the lot. This is work to the lot, which is technically, at least on a minimal basis, developing the lot. Again, I'll go back to, should we put have the sidewalk put in, because this is the only development that will happen to this lot. Mr. Cage. Oh, I'm sorry, Mayor.
Mr. Cage, go ahead.
Thank you. I believe the applicant's goal is to not build a residence there because they already have a residence on Deer Path, so I think their plan was, how it was explained to me, was to fence in the yard and not build a residence, and not develop it.
So,
Guys.
if I may. So then, no sidewalk
Go ahead, Mr.
will ever be built there if we allow the go forward and not put the sidewalk in with the fence.
Mr. Cage?
Thank you. Yes, so typically, the sidewalk is kind of one part of the construction with a new single-family home. So without the single-family home and the certificate of occupancy, which is usually gives the city the ability to have the sidewalk put in, that would be the case. There would not be a sidewalk there.
Okay, if I can
Okay, go ahead.
up,
Follow
'cause
up,
this
yes.
is as much an issue in the future as it is an issue for what we're talking about today. So from my perspective, I look at it, allowing this then blocks that sidewalk essentially from going in unless somebody else wants to go on that property and put in a sidewalk. And so, let's say over the next year that 10 people do build a house, that sidewalk's never gonna get completed. That's, if not something we can take care of today, certainly something we need to look at down the future. I guess I view it that this is the only development that he's gonna do on that lot, as this would be the thing that triggers that. I get that normally it's a house, and normally it's part of a CO, but truly there is, as admitted, no intent to ever build a house on the lot.
Mr. Cage, go ahead.
It does raise quite the conundrum in terms of the sidewalk and the connection because as the council knows, typically in a subdivision, the developer does a portion of the infrastructure improvements or the majority of them, and then, it's redundant to put a sidewalk in before the houses are built because then the sidewalks will get damaged. So typically what happens,
Right.
each section of sidewalk in front of the residence is built when the after that or during when the house is built, and so you connect those sections up. So it would create a unique situation that we would have to figure out a way to resolve, because normally with the house, that section would be completed and connected to the other sidewalk, and then so on with the other residences. So we would have to solve that issue some other way.
Okay,
All right.
and then just
One more, go ahead.
yeah, just final, brief. So the other thing, again, my opinion, the fence going out to the sidewalk then creates undue, let's say, visual noise or visual obstructions, especially when it's on the invert of a cul-de-sac, people looking out their property, their window or their door, or pulling out of their driveways, their sight lines are hindered by this fence, which is why, precisely why they have this code in almost every community, at least all the ones that I've ever worked in. And that's the end of my statement. Thank you.
Alderman Sorrentino?
Okay, I'd be rather remiss if I didn't throw my 2 cents into the hat here. First of all, I'd like to see this brought up again with a full council, and I'd like it to be put on the big TV with, without the blueprints and maybe something more of a visual like we have in this packet. Because personally, I think we kind of got railroaded through the vote last week, led by a general contractor and our mayor. Honestly, I thought, Mayor, your role here is to be a tiebreaker if we had even votes. But you were pretty adamant about setting precedents and aesthetics, which I think for the new council members, they kind of like, well, we know the mayor doesn't want it, so we better go with him. And I don't think that was fit or proper. And with all due respect, I think it was poorly presented. And I think if it was presented in a proper light, we may have had a similar attitude to what you appointed, Mayor, to the CDC, where it was a heavily landslided 5-1 vote. I put a lot of faith and trust into the committees that make
Do I
decisions
need to respond to this?
for us. And
Okay.
all I heard were words of setting precedents and aesthetics, but I didn't hear the values of the homes in this area. They're $600,000 and perhaps more. And if I could ask Mr. Cage, the distance between the homes in this community versus the rest of the city?
Go ahead, Mr. Cage.
That is an excellent question. I don't have the Plato subdivision in front of me. I would say roughly about 7.5 to 10 feet side yard setback for a typical lot in that subdivision. I'm not sure if it's the 7.5 or the 10 feet.
Versus in the regular
Go ahead.
homes, I'm sorry, versus the regular ward sites, say in the third ward, the homes there?
Go ahead,
Yes.
Mr. Cage.
Thank you,
I'm sorry.
Mayor. So, we've all seen the very colorful zoning map, that all the different districts have different setbacks and requirements. So, I'm more familiar with kind of the area just to the east of us, which is a higher zoning district. Typically, the setbacks are more closer to 5 feet. And some of the other residences that you're mentioning, Mr. Alderman Sorrentino, I think some of the setbacks are, also 5 feet. So it varies depending on which zoning category you're in. Obviously, R1 is the least dense, has the largest setbacks, going up R2, R3, R4. So, sorry, long-winded answer to your question.
All right.
Follow up here, Mayor?
Go ahead.
All right, so that was, you answered what I thought would be the answer, because I know just in our ward, it reminds me of the city, house after house after house, and they're all similar in nature. So when you get into the aesthetics, you move out into these types of communities, the homes don't even look similar, and they're further spread apart. So the aesthetics, again, I'll go back to what I mentioned last week, that fence is not the aesthetic, it's what's behind the fence. And you want to set a precedent? Okay, set a precedent of, let's bring the ordinances up to the 21st century. I don't know when these ordinances were first written. I know at one point, you charged the chief and Attorney Bond to look at the liquor licenses and kind of bring them up, nudge them up. Same thing with the conduct, and we kind of sat and brought them all up. Well, I think maybe this ordinance should be brought up. This ain't Mayberry no more.
Go ahead, Mr. Cage.
Excellent point, Alderman Sorrentino. So the good news is that the UDO steering committee is back in action, and there is a plan to have a meeting to discuss the updates to the UDO, portion of which is the fence section. So I know that meeting is due to come in July, so that's perfect timing.
I think with all that being said, Mayor, if we have the visuals and the UDO and the board is in its entirety, have a chance to see this, there just may be a different outcome. That's all I'd like to see, and have it presented in a fashion that is better presented visually and,
Well, actually, if you watch the CDC meeting, you'll see the presentation. I watched it. I don't know if you did.
no, I didn't. I just
And-
heard 5-1 in favor of.
Well, maybe you should watch the video and see what was said, and, I don't know, maybe see if some might have been persuaded by somebody speaking. And you know what? I did call one of those commissioners. Oh, I was surprised at the answer. No, I was not.
Maybe
That's,
that attitude came to the council, who knows, if they were persuaded, but 5-1's a powerful vote.
it's a powerful vote if you're persuading.
Yes, it
That's,
is.
that's called steering. Alderman Sismarski?
If it doesn't go through, he's allowed to have a 4-foot fence, I hear?
Yes, he's allowed to put in a
Is it-
4-foot
is it
fence.
picketed, iron?
It's a picket fence.
You missed that part.
Picket fence.
No, I mean, I'm just, that's what he wants to put in.
No, hold on a second.
He's gonna put a 4-foot.
So Alderman Sismarski, he's allowed a 4-foot fence. CDC had recommended a 6-foot fence, either aluminum or metal. But our code says 4-foot picket fence, and he doesn't need no variance. And That's pretty much it. You can't speak. You can't.
That's the opinion. So now that you trying to call me out, I had no intention of.
Wait.
I had no bearing on his comments, so now I'm going to vote, and then you can make a complaint if you'd like. That's fine. I didn't say anything, so you can look at the packet. I think the packet speaks for itself. I didn't say anything.
What did I say? I said
I
there,
respect you. I won't
I
make a
said
comment, but I
that-
had nothing to do with
I
his
told them
comments
to
or
watch
anything.
the video.
Please do.
Yes.
It's still 5-1.
Right.
I won't say anything.
But if, let's say I was at that meeting and I spoke against it, that committee might have voted no then, 5-1. So that's why we do not attend those meetings. I just, if we're going to call me out, I'm going to respond.
I didn't call you out.
That's the second week in a row I get called out. Alderman Jacob, go ahead.
Okay, I'm not calling anybody out, but my whole point is, right now, he doesn't even have to come to us. He could tomorrow put up a fence.
Yes,
6 foot and then 4 foot up in front.
right.
It's gonna look terrible. That's our code now, which is a flawed code, unfortunately. He is willing to spend the money, and he's gonna put a wrought iron fence up there and spend the additional money to make it look nice, which is what the residents there want.
So I'm kind of
He-
curious why nobody voted yes for the gentleman across the street. Are we consistent or not?
The person
We can
across
talk
the,
about this all night long.
well, but,
Alderman Sismarski, go ahead.
No, I didn't
Okay.
have my hand up.
Follow up, go ahead.
well, again, the people across the street were putting tennis courts, they were putting lights, they were putting all kinds of stuff.
What if this guy wants to come in the future and do the same thing?
Well,
Uh,
we're gonna be
uh,
changing the code.
Yeah,
And number two is, why are we consistently taking residents' money? If we're gonna be consistent, then as soon as we pass a variance here, we need to say, okay, this is automatically next meeting, we're making that the code. Otherwise, we're just wasting people's money, coming here,
And-
spending $500.
and we have done that.
Well, I still see
We've
people
changed.
spending $500 to come here, and I know we've approved some variances in the past, and
And some we've changed.
some we've not passed.
Okay. Any other questions? Alderman Woods?
Yeah, just a statement. I mean, there's always got to be an opportunity for somebody to address the code when they think it's not right or their situation is such that you would make that allowance or variance, which is why it exists. And most of the time, the majority of the time, it doesn't pass. And the number one thing is proving that there's a hardship, how you were hurt by this. This is a different, I'll agree on that this is a slightly different situation because want to fence off an undeveloped lot. But the fact still remains, we're trying to get a 6-foot fence going out to the sidewalk, which obstructs your vision. I ask either one of you that live in houses to go out there and construct a 6-foot fence on each side of your driveway all the way out to the sidewalk and ask me if you think that that's okay. I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense. So we can pick on the builder, and certainly I'm usually pretty flexible, but this is a case of where I don't get it. There's no house there. There's no real reason to even have a fence.
All right, we have a motion and a second.
Can I be recognized? Maybe.
Technically, you should recuse yourself
I
since you
didn't
spoke
say it
as
wasn't.
you-
I have a lot of my own residents at home, so I'd like to, may I be recognized?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so for those watching at home that have asked me, I'm going to recuse myself, even though I know legally I don't have to. I've talked to Pat. I don't feel like the slander that you just proposed to me is fair. That's your
It's-
opinion. And Nunzio, you're a mentor to me, and I'm very disappointed that you are accusing me of that.
No.
I had no conversation with Alderman Sorrentino. I appreciate it. He also said my presentation was not great. I'm not taking offense to it. But the fact that you on televised TV would slander me that way, I did not
slander.
say that to him. That wasn't my thing. I helped on that presentation, not for that individual, but for those lots. So all I'm saying is,
I
it's for
understand.
those lots. It's not for that guy. He could care less. He's coming out of pocket to make it better for those lots to be developed because, like you said, that's been undeveloped for, 20 years? He's trying to make a difference. That's why this visual helps, like Alderman Sorrentino said. I'm done, but I just don't appreciate, you've been a mentor to me, but I don't appreciate you calling me out like I did something. I didn't tell anybody anything. So I will respect you as always and
It's-
recuse myself, but I
all
don't
I
appreciate
said
my
is-
neighbor, I don't appreciate my residents hearing that. That's not fair to me.
All I said was, at the CDC meeting, somebody spoke,
Me, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I didn't, but you're
and
accusing me
I
of saying
did
that.
call, I
didn't do
did
that.
call one of the commissioners,
Call all of them, because I didn't do that.
and they basically told me, well, you know, I was on the fence, but, you know, since he spoke, that's what was said to me. I'm telling you, and that's why I told them, we will never put you in that position, because we won't be at those meetings.
But legally, you're allowed to, per the attorney. Again, I respect, I'll accuse myself. I'm not gonna go.
Alderman Jacob, go ahead.
I just have one final comment. So I was there, I did not speak. Randy spoke, but he asked our city attorney. Pat Bond was not there, his office was there. He did not tell him anything about, you can't say this, you can't say that. He said, yeah, of course you could speak. So then so technically, I mean, he listened to our city attorney, and, you know, and that's between our city attorney and his staff, but he did nothing wrong by talking, because he asked that attorney, if that attorney would have said, you should not say anything because you're going to have to recuse yourself at the meeting, he would not have spoke. It's very simple. End of my comment.
Okay. Roll call. So the motion was to approve. Go ahead.
Alderman Woods,
What is the motion? To approve the variance?
Yes, it's always in the affirmative.
Yep.
No.
Alderman Catalano,
No.
Alderman Jacob,
Yes.
Alderman Messina,
I will recuse myself per the mayor's request.
Alderman Sorrentino,
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski,
No.
Alderman Ames,
No.
Alderman Currielli.
No. Okay, that fails. Does that conclude your report?
Thankfully, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Public Health and Safety, Alderman Sismarski.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Public Works, Alderman Messina.
One report, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Approval of a pay estimate number 8 final to Benchmark Construction, Inc. for the Ward 2 and 3 Stormwater Improvement Project, Contract C, in the amount of $1,474,999, excuse me, $1,474,999.18. That is my motion.
Second.
Any questions?
Yeah, I have one.
Alderman Catalano?
Yeah, do we have a punch list on that? Was a punch list taken care of?
Mr. Hastings?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Alderman. So there are 3 remaining punch list items, and they are brought up on a weekly basis with the current contract. They are all very minor. We will be having a 5-year maintenance bond on the project as well that will cover any outstanding items. But at this time, we feel comfortable with where they're at. They're going to continue staying on top of the grass, which is one of the main punch list items.
And we have guarantees, right?
They will be looking at herbicide treatments and further hydro seeding treatments as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
One quick
I
question.
just, go ahead. I was going to make a comment. Go ahead.
All right, just to follow up on that, because I'm glad you said that they're gonna keep on the grass, but are they gonna keep on the grass now, or are they gonna be a scenario where they wait till November or something when they're done with the project at the school and say, now it'll go into spring? That's my only concern. I'm glad that they're gonna do it, I believe that they're gonna do it, but I wanna make sure that they're gonna continue with it now and get it going and not wait a year.
Mr. Hastings?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, so they're going to continue watering consecutively until they get further germination of the seed. And then at some point in mid to late summer, depending on how much seed has actually germinated, they are going to do a weed application. So they are planning on continuing their treatment throughout the summer and then the growing season going into the fall. So
quick. Go ahead, follow up.
Yeah. And I get that part, but right now there's some healthy-looking, non-grass things growing, we'll say, that are way taller than the grass is. And if that continues unabated, you know, it's gonna look worse than Dale would, if that's possible.
Mr. Hastings?
That's my concern. So if they're gonna hit that with herbicide or do something to,
Correct. So the herbicide at this point would stop any further germination of the actual grass seed. So they want to try to get the grass seed established as much as they can. They actually have been mowing on their own terms some of the heightened weeds. But once we feel like the grass that's down now, and no further germination left, they are going to hit it with herbicide.
thank you.
And I just want to make one comment. So being that this is the final payment, I don't know if anybody noticed, but there was a decrease in the contract of $642,889.67. Nice job to the staff and our engineers for taking care of that stuff. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Smarsky, I didn't see your hand.
Is it okay to ask Mr. Heising a question other than not related to this
No,
on work in Ward 4 going on?
no, it's this project. Thank you. All right, any other questions? Roll call.
No.
Alderman Woods,
Yes.
Alderman Catalano,
Yes.
Alderman Jacob,
Yes.
Alderman Messina,
Yes.
Alderman Sorrentino,
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski,
Yes.
Alderman Ames,
Yes.
Alderman Curriello.
Yes.
And that passes. Does that conclude your report?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Finance and Administration, Alderman Catalano.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Under other business, Alderman Jacob, Airport Noise.
No report, Mayor.
Thank you. Stormwater Commission, right now, the second, or the fourth phase of this stormwater project has started over by the school, Westview. That's all we have there. Approval of list of bills, Alderman Catalano.
Yes, I want to make a motion to approve a list of bills for June 17th, 2021,
Second.
and in the amount of $2,046,174.26.
Second
We
again.
have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Got it.
Oh. Okay. I'll make a comment. Any other questions? Let's take a roll call.
Alderman Woods,
Yes.
Alderman Catalano,
Yes.
Alderman Jacob,
Yes.
Alderman Messina,
Yes.
Alderman Sorrentino,
Yes.
Alderman Sismarski,
Yes.
Alderman Ames,
Yes.
Alderman Curriello.
Yes.
Okay, and that passes, and just one comment on that Ward 2 and 3 project that's over by the school, by Westview School. Mr. Murmas reminded me that by doing that project at the school board allowing us to do it there, we've saved $1 million for the taxpayers.
Nice.
So, thank you to the school district. And we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. We're adjourned.
No